We good? We're live. What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Artifakt Hour. My name is Ryan. I'm here with Audrey. We are painting in our studio, Artifakt Studios. That's where we're at. So what we're working on today, we're doing a continuation of last week's video. If you were tuning in last week, we're working on this Grateful Dead inspired canvas. This is a 10-foot canvas. It's the widest, biggest canvas I've personally ever painted. So I'm pretty hyped about this. Yeah, we're just getting into it, right? So Audrey's going to be working on some flowers over here to the left. And Audrey, welcome back. She was in Florida for the past month, so she's missed the last couple appearances. But we got her back in the house, so welcome back, Audrey.
Thank you. It's so good to be back.
Cool. So she's working on some flowers and some little foliage and stuff in this field, right? Field of dreams over here. And I'm going to be working on the wings by adding highlights. So I'm using an airbrush. She's going to be using paintbrush. This is mixed media, so we did a lot of spray paint in this background. But now we're kind of getting into the details. So yeah, let's get it. Yeah, so the airbrush is honestly something that I haven't touched in a while. And I broke it out for this piece and a few others that I've been recently working on. And I kind of forgot how dope it really is. It's kind of like having a tiny spray paint can in a sense. So I can just like literally give this very feathered effect to these wings, which is like exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just like very softly add these highlights in, painting in some details into this just to give it like a lighter, fluffier
A
kind of
delicacy?
feel. Yeah, so it doesn't feel like, right now it's kind of dark, it feels kind of like metalish. But yeah, wings are fun. I love painting wings. Like, it's just a thing. I don't know. It's always kind of been a thing. I think the idea of wings is just like, you know, it's symbolic of freedom. I would guess. I don't know.
It's definitely symbolic of freedom.
Right. So something I've been feeling lately is trying to like really, lean into my freedoms. And one of those freedoms is I had creative freedom to basically design and create this piece, which is dope because like that's all you ever want as an artist is when you have like dope clients. Like the best thing that we can ever hear is when a client tells us that they trust our vision. We get a budget for the project and we kind of get a couple of ideas. They give us a little bit of a jumping off point and they just let us run with it. So it's beautiful because the best art always comes from that like authentic place of just getting to do your thing, which to me, this is kind of like a combination of a bunch of different pieces that I've been working on, exploring, and concepts, in just like elements from a bunch of different paintings I've been doing. Like I've painted a lot of roses recently, so it's got a touch of that. I've been painting tons of pyramids. The wings has always been a staple of mine. Skulls are always a staple. We got the classic dead lightning bolt. Water, rivers, nature is always a staple for me, and again, the bigger pyramid that the whole, skull is kind of sitting in, like this little valley situation. And, just flowers in general, sunflowers, mountains, sunsets, like trails, like that kind of stuff. Like I've been doing a lot of, and I guess it's just like sometimes we have these repeating themes as artists that like, again, maybe they're metaphorical to our life or maybe it's just stuff that I like to paint, I kind of like the idea of like revisiting subjects as sort of like a series or like a phase. Like you go through certain phases where, I'm going to paint a lot of like one thing or the other and sometimes I switch it up. But once you've painted the thing, you've kind of got it in your tool belt, so to speak. Like if you've painted every time I paint wings, it's different. But once you start doing wings, it's kind of like, and you figure it out, you're like, you can kind of duplicate that again. So
You always say that to me. You're like, you paint one set of wings, you can paint any set of wings. You paint one tree, you can paint any tree.
Kind of like once you kind of get nailed it, like, you nail it in certain sizes and certain little tricks to get the effect. Like, you can kind of like duplicate that, again and again. Or improvise it, so to speak. So like that's to me, like I like painting organic stuff like nature, flowers, anything like organic just allows you to improvise what you're doing. So you don't have to, plan it out all the time. Like I don't have to sit here and stare at a reference. Like I have stuff and reference materials that I can look at if I need to be like, oh yeah, if I need to really feel something out, I will. But like, I'm not gonna sit there glued staring at something because it's just not gonna like, I can't flow like that personally. And with organic stuff, it has to just feel natural. So you gotta just, you gotta be the water, you know what I mean? Or you gotta be the rock, like when you're like chiseling stuff out. Or even with this, like I gotta loosen up because like feathers need to be like soft. And I'm kind of like laying the paint in here a little too heavy. So I gotta kind of like feather it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. I sometimes look at a reference and I get a little stuck because I keep darting my eyes back to it to reference
just remember
it.
It's always just a suggestion. Like,
of course, and it's just a good reminder because like when you see an image, if you have any sort of experience or visual talent, if you will, at all, once you see the visual, that imprint is now in your mind, and like you really could, if you're testing yourself, you really could never have to look at the reference again and you'd be good. It's just a matter of trusting yourself. And it really is so much better when you then like don't rely so heavily on it and you just, like you said, go with the flow.
You really can't. Like staring at your phone or staring at a reference or a sketch or whatever. Like I think that sketching is helpful in the conceptual process. It's helpful to figure out your colors, your basic line work. You can take a sketch and you can do, you can project it, or in this case, I did a doodle grid. Was my way of transferring this. I actually did a tape grid. So I had a sketch. I did a digital sketch on an iPad to get this like sort of composition and rendering because the space was very specific. It's going in somebody's living room, so it has to fit a very specific wall. So basically, the composition has to fit as well. So doing that digital helps you get things to proportion and to scale. And the way I transferred it was I put little pieces of painter's tape all over it, all over the blank canvas. I took a picture of that grid, and I overlaid my digital image over the grid. So for those who paint and those who are into art and doodle grids and stuff like that, if you know what I'm talking about, the doodle grid is a method for, it's like if you don't have a projector, I don't really even use projectors anymore. I really use doodle grids for the majority of, like, if I have a sketch and I need to transfer it to a bigger surface and scale it up or whatever, to a wall, canvas, whatever it is, the doodle grid is a really interesting method. But I'm not going to get into that today. That's like kind of its own video.
Did you say you doodle gridded this one?
Yes, but with painter's tape. So it wasn't like I doodled. I just put little strips of painter's tape, overlaid the image, and that showed me where I could trace and where I could like get the, do my lines and my outlines and everything. And then I've just filled in the colors from there. So
very clever.
And then you peel all the tape off. So it's easier to clean up basically.
Yeah.
You don't have to cover over the doodles. But yeah, that's kind of a whole nother thing, like I said. But yeah, so sketching and references are important in like the design process, the conceptual process, but at some point you gotta let go of that and just like trust yourself and run with it. And
again, thanks for the reminder.
That's at least my style of painting. Not I should say not every artist is like that. Like some artists do stay true to the reference and really see it all the way through. I just personally can't paint like that when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like I need to feel it. I can't be like stuck having to do it a certain way. Like it
Well,
just
there's also certain
it's not my style.
styles.
It's not my style.
There's also certain styles, usually not yours, that that do require more of a, what's the word? Exactness.
Just like a more
There's more shapes
dialed
and,
in,
yeah.
like it's a more literal thing. It's like you're really like if you're doing hyper like photorealism,
Exactly.
you're copying a picture like detail for detail. Like if that's your thing, then like that's amazing. But
It's a different thing entirely.
you're stuck to it, like doing stuff like if you paint someone famous, for instance, and you try to like you got to nail them, you got to do them like exact, and so that stuff kind of like you can burn out a little bit because it's like it's so precise and you really can't, you don't have so much wiggle room. You can do a background or you can do like you can alter it, but if you're doing a person, it's got to look like the person. So and most of the time if you're doing someone famous or someone dead, it's like you're not going to get an original reference. You've got to use a picture of them that already exists.
By original reference, you mean you having taken the photo of them yourself?
Yeah, like it's something I personally want to move into a lot more. Is like for I do a lot of for those who know some of my work outside of this, I do a lot of portrait murals, and that's kind of been a thing that like I've been super interested in and super. It's just like fun to me. It's like a challenge. I love doing it. I kind of want to push more in that direction this summer, and it's a good time.
It reminds me of our friend Anguria.
I want to shoot my own references, is what I'm saying. I want to take pictures of my friends and blow them up into murals, and just as opposed to doing like a someone who's already famous or established.
Right, and that reminds me of our muralist friend Anguria, who does this in the most brilliant way. His thing is he paints these murals of women with rollers in their hair. And when I met him, I found out that he has his wife and his daughter pose for photos. And those are his references, and that's what he's painting. And it's beautiful work.
Yeah, super cool. And that's like one way of doing it, but yeah, I've known a few artists who that's their approach. They actually, shoot the photos. They set the whole thing up and specifically to what they're looking for, which would be cool. It's like if you want like a wizard character, just find like, an old dude with a beard or like, like.
Or rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Another
Like it's
muralist.
way cooler to like immortalize your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Than it is to like repeat some like old motif or something of somebody who's already there and
For sure.
already has an image.
Some of the best portrait murals I've seen, I feel like, are of people who are not famous. At least I don't believe they are. They're not famous to me. And it's photorealism that is like, it really might as well be a photo. And it's just capturing the human form and human essence in such a way that, like, for me, it's more beautiful and more impressive than really nailing someone's famous face that people can say, oh, yeah, that looks just like them. I prefer that when it is someone unknown.
Yeah, me too. It leaves interpretation.
Yeah.
Should say it leaves room for interpretation. It allows you to be like, who is this? I wonder what this is about, and you can kind of engage with the art.
Yeah, exactly.
At least when it comes to like public art,
For sure. For sure.
Well, it's good to have you back, Audrey. I was kind of going crazy talking to myself. Like I felt like I was just speaking into the void. And I
funny,
know
you
we have
always talk to
listeners and I know
yourself.
we have subscribers and stuff, but I'm also like I was kind of in an echo chamber just like talking to myself. I have Tom here, but he could only chirp in the background, it's kind of a little
Going a little
maddening.
crazy?
Yeah, I was going nuts.
Yeah, we got a few mics now.
Yeah, now we got a couple mics.
Tom's mic too.
Hey,
The The man
the
behind
producer
scenes.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No, thank you for saying that, though. I'm so happy to be back because I was in the audience the last couple weeks, and it was so exciting and so cool to watch it. You guys like really did an amazing job, and it's also just it's so special to be in like inside and behind the scenes, like in the thing is really, it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of why people love being at, say, mural festivals and things so much, because the audience really does become a part of the experience.
Well, that's what we're hoping. You know, it's sometimes it's hard for me to like. I'm not gonna lie, like to pay attention to what I'm doing and also kind of like create an interesting conversation. You know, hold court, so to speak, in a conversation. It's like, damn, you know, it is hard. It reminds me of being at like festivals or something when you're like painting and someone's like, so like, what's the meaning of this painting? Like, how did you do this? Like, did you paint this whole thing yourself?
Let me
And
paint
you're like
it so
on
I
a-
can find out.
Dude, yeah. We get like, you know, we get used to it as like, you know, if you paint on the street, like people are gonna stop and ask you questions. You know, it's interesting to them. That's natural and normal. So I don't blame them, but sometimes it can be kind of crazy depending on like the traffic of a certain area. You just kind of like you get hit with these really funny like generic questions that I think I've heard like, you know, just so like I don't know. It's great. Like I love the inquisitiveness, but it is funny how sometimes people's minds will like jump to the first thing. Like they'll just say the first thing that comes out of their mouths. Like murals and artwork can sort of like it makes people like vulnerable. Like they just want to like tell me stuff. Like they'll just come up to you and tell you something like, oh, like I was an artist once, and then they'll like tell you a whole story about their life. And like you didn't ask, you know, it's like it's very fascinating how it just like cracks people open.
It opens a
sometimes.
portal.
Well, yeah, it's just like they're just like, oh, and like they have like an emotional reaction, and some people keep it to themselves, and some people love it, maybe some people hate it, maybe but some people feel inclined to share how they feel about it with you, and that's a special type of person that like I've heard it all. I've heard the most negative insults, and I've heard, you know, just the craziest
Racist comments too. Remember that?
Yeah, stuff like that. I've heard like really crazy, just like batshit interpretations of like certain paintings that were humorous, you know.
Honestly, though, my favorite, it's a generic one that seems to happen a lot. Ryan will be up on a ladder, headphones on, in his zone, painting a mural on a wall, and somebody basically comes up and might as well be shaking the ladder, you know, tapping on his leg, doing whatever they can to get his attention, even though this person being Ryan is obviously busy, obviously, you know, trying to focus. And they finally get his attention and they ask him a question along the lines of, hey, did you paint this? Or like, are you painting this? And he's, again, on a ladder, can in hand, painting the wall. And they're just asking this like it's
Yep.
just so ridiculous. And I'm not even kidding. This happens all the time. It's just, it's funny.
Yeah, it really is like the number one most common thing that I would hear, that we all hear. For some reason, it is like I've talked to other artists about this, and we've all heard that. It's a thing. Like, you paint that?
Maybe
and
people are just so amazed
while
because
you're
it's
painting
like
it.
because murals are still relatively new as an art form. I mean,
Well, you see
like
a mural,
modern-day
but you don't
murals?
see someone. It's rare to see someone
Exactly.
painting it. Like right?
So
Like,
they're unbelievable. So
where,
they just,
yeah. So they kind of just. It's like the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth, and they're just like, "Blah, blah, blah, did you paint that?" And it's like, it's like I've had great, like I've definitely like trolled people where it was like, it was like, nah, like like I'm just
would
like,
too.
I forget what it was. It was just
I'm just the
stupid
janitor,
smart ass
whatever.
answers
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
nah, I'm just I'm just touching it up over, like, I'm just holding the can for fun, and like spraying it at the wall, I don't know.
Yep.
Like what
Stolen Coats up in here. Stolen Coats says,
hey.
I'm forever asking that if I ever catch you painting.
Oh,
That's my
amazing.
ass off.
Oh yeah, please.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's like the good. It's the best heckle.
Oh, you were so
You
smart to
know?
put a needle cap.
Hey, did you
for
paint that?
this.
That's how I approach my friends if they don't, like you catch them slipping. Yo, did you paint that?
If you catch them slipping,
You just whisper it like, fucking,
Yeah, that's such a good troll.
and you can feel them just like, oh.
Not that again.
groan.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm just like adding these little feathers, these little wisps, and I feel like it's working out, but also, one of the things about airbrush, like these things are kind of temperamental. You got to have the right mix of like paint and water. It's kind of annoying, so don't mind me if I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit here.
You are
Taking my
all
sweet ass
good.
time. Some of these highlights are a little stronger than I want them, so I'll probably set them back with like a shadow color. See, this thing's, sometimes these airbrushes
Oh, that looks so cool.
spit and give problems. So they're like, I love them and I hate them, the spray paint can to me is just like always gonna be so like clear and direct and like clean, and it's just like it's maintenance free. You don't really need to do much. You shake it, you spray it, that's about it.
And it is getting more and more, what's the word? Eco-friendly, because while, you use plastic caps that eventually have to be thrown away, there's all these products and things being made to help extend the shelf life of caps. It's so awesome, like solvents and like, what is it? Like, it's not a needle cap, but it's the cap where you can like spray through. Oh, I know what it is. You put the cap on a can of solvent and then you spray it and it cleans out the cap and then you can reuse it.
Yeah, I mean,
That
yeah,
stuff's
like
so cool.
it's good to try to somewhat be sustainable about the things you're doing, I guess, and I don't know. I feel that. I mean, I think really the eco-friendly thing here, at least the more healthy alternative, is using these water-based cans, which again we have been using for a lot of our indoor projects all winter. These are made by Montana. We sell them here at Artifakt. You can spray them in a cup, which Audrey's doing right here. You can spray them on the wall.
And because they're water-based, like a regular spray paint, when you do it in a cup like this, it's going to dry up pretty quickly. But the water content in the water-based cans, it lasts in the cup for a really good amount of time. It's awesome.
Yeah, so it basically, like the selling point is that it doesn't have fumes the way that regular spray paints do. So you can spray it in your studio and like we don't have to wear a mask or anything. It's like it's the same as this airbrush essentially. It'll put paint particles in the air, but it doesn't have vapors. So you're not like, getting accidentally high off of it by spraying it indoors. So that's a good thing, or a bad thing, depending on who you're asking. All right, cool. So this light blue that I'm using, it's like a sky blue. I'm kind of just realizing that it's the same highlight color for the water, so I might as well just like add in some little highlights to my water to give it more reflective qualities. Right? Okay. And then kind of giving some splashes off these little rocks. So airbrush is dope for this kind of thing. Like it can give you really good lighting effects in, fades and, highlights, blends, glow, or anything like glossy or glassy. If you need to make it look like glass, like water and stuff, like it's a subtle effect, and I'm not sure how much it's really showing up on the camera, but to me, I can kind of slowly see it. It's really helping me just like blend and soften certain aspects of the painting, especially like water. Like when I'm trying to like chisel it out with spray paint, it's a little more rough, like the cutbacks and stuff. But this allows me to soften all of the, that blue and kind of and essentially blend it together. Like, and the thing about airbrush, for those who aren't familiar with the medium, the dopest part about this is like you got this little, button right here. The more you pull back the button, the bigger the dot gets, and just by pushing it, down with just the lever all the way up, it'll make like a smaller dot back to a wider brush. So, you got a thin cap to a fat cap, basically. And all you got to do is push down and it allows you to go, skinny to wide to skinny again, so you have a lot of like versatility with this. If you want to, you know, I don't know, like you can fill things in, you can do the lightest, it's one cap fits all basically. So that's the cool part about airbrush is you're not like switching caps. But it does clog like crazy. At least mine do. Maybe I should like, I don't know, filter my paint, or I'm probably doing something wrong. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit like, I'm not like the exact person to give you advice on how to like clean your art supplies. I have a bad habit of ruining art supplies by just like not, like leaving a brush out, or with airbrush, if you don't clean the airbrush, like the thing cakes up and it's no bueno. How you doing over there, Audrey?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm like playing with colors and trying to not look at the reference and just kind of mix and match, make my own colors, and just trying to make it less, just more sporadic, more natural, like a field of flowers would be. So the only thing is, yeah, I just honestly, the reference is very different from what you ended up doing, so I just got to stop looking at it. But it's good. I like the pointillism, like basically doing background flowers that are basically just dots. It's basically just pointillism, and
Yeah,
cute.
I think you're like just need to start doing like a couple
sure.
bigger ones. And
For
bigger
sure, I was
plants
just
and
pulling
stuff
it
as
slowly
you get there.
forward and taking my time getting there, because I'd rather do the rather fill the background how I want, so that like the layers are.
Well, it'd be
you know?
cool. It'd be cool too to just take a little water and just dab
That's
some
what
of
I was
that.
doing.
So
I'll do it some more.
even make it drip and
For
stuff.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to make it weird,
Happily.
because we're not doing hype. We're not trying to make this realistic.
True,
It's
true,
this
true.
is surrealism. This is psychedelic art. Like, we're gonna try to create certain effects that are, rendered well, but ultimately it's not about making it look real, because nothing about this is real, right? So I think that's an important thing to not get fixated on. And
Thank
even
you
me
for the
right now,
reminder.
I'm kind of like stressing on these little feather tips. But my first one, I went a little heavy on some of these. Like I said, I'm going to kind of cut them back a little bit because they're a little too bright, and sometimes it's good to bounce around and just let something dry before you come back to it. So that's kind of because airbrush, like, this is watered down paint in here. I don't want to overspray it because it's gonna, bleed and drip and just kind of like be a mess in general. So it's good not to oversaturate the canvas, and by simply just giving it a break and coming back to it, it's pretty, it's good to just jump around. And that's why I think painting is kind of therapeutic and good for like ADD type people who, like, if you want to, multitask and do multiple things at once, painting is kind of like that, because you're like, I'm letting one section dry, I'm jumping back and forth, she's working on this side, it's like, you can, once you kind of crack it open, it's easy to just keep going and jumping around,
Just loving this color.
Yeah, see? And play with the water too, like I said, like,
For sure.
but that-
Jeremy Lou Allen says painting looks great.
Oh.
How long have you been working on it?
All right, so hey, thanks for the question. I
Thanks
think
for watching. You've been watching every week, I feel like.
right, I know we got a regular fan. This is probably I would say coming on like 30 hours, 25 to 30 hours,
Nice.
somewhere in between. Honestly, yeah, I think like we're definitely past the halfway point, and I think like now I really haven't touched it much since last week, to be honest. Like, I've had to do a lot of recent life things lately that have just like taken precedent to being able to work on this painting. But so it's I kind of haven't touched it a whole lot since last week, but I will tell you that now getting back into it, like, I can feel the flow is strong, and I can feel
Woo!
the finish line, the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, which is like, I can see the finish line of where I want to go and how to get there. You know, it just takes that, like, it's the slow chipping away, you know. Painting is a very patient process that just like, it requires a lot of presence and being in the moment, and it's a sort of meditation because it's when you start like an ambitious painting like this kind of size, you are committing to like a certain amount of hours of your life to just sit with this one thing, just staring at this one piece and working it and working it and working it. So yeah, I'm trying to get better about you know, estimating how long paintings and canvases take. And sort of what I've been calling it is like, you know, you get into the portal. When you start a painting, it's like you open a portal. And you got to get in and you got to get out. Like, once you open that, like, you know, it's you're working on it whether you're standing here or not, right? Like, for me, if even if I'm not standing here working on this painting, I'm definitely thinking about it, like, throughout the day. Like, oh, man,
Definitely.
I got to finish that. Like, it's on my mind because I'm still, my brain is like painting it in my mind. Like, I do a lot of computation. Like, I feel like it's like you're doing math in your head. Like, people who are good at math, like for me, like I'm like trying to like break down the colors, you know, by looking at a picture or just staring at it. I sit here and stare at it in the studio for you know, all the time and try to like, you know, you think like, okay, what does it need next, you know? It's important to really like, you know, kind of let it cook, I suppose, and just let yourself, you know, give it the time it needs. But also when you know you have a work in progress, it consumes your life, and it should. Like, that's the point. Like, you're painting, you know, it's not supposed to be like easy. Like, you should allow yourself to just like embrace you know, the situation,
The
and just
chaos.
the chaos energy. Yeah, because it is kind of chaotic. So, you know, you want to just go deep with it, get in, and then, you know, wrap it up. Like, I want to be, you know, really sharp with my ability to like finish paintings and find that finish line, which is, it's always like the last 10% that is absolutely the hardest part of every painting.
Yeah, but
You know?
you've also gotten so good, and this podcast has really exemplified that. You've gotten so good at like choosing when to say it's done and put it down, because the truth is, like, you could keep painting anything forever. You could overcook it, but you could like plenty of people
Correct.
do that, or they just never finish a painting. But I feel like you've said so much about how that's really important to shift that shift into that as a good habit, and as like whether it's for practice reasons and like internal reasons, or whether it's like, you know, because it's a commission and it's for the business, and you know, we need to finish it and get it to the client and receive payment. Whatever the reason is, it's really awesome to watch how we're like tapping into that, like start something and finish it. It's just good practice.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's a bit of like, you can really be in the moment with it. Like, I don't want to work on any other paintings until this painting is done. So I want to give this painting all of my due attention while I'm in that process. I don't want to jump from one painting to another. I want to like get into a painting, and however long it takes, I want to be like immersed until that experience is over. Because that's how you're going to get the best art. You know, you've got to like live it and breathe it. And like, you know, honestly, this painting already has been like, you know, it's been going well, it's been going smooth, but in certain ways it's kind of kicking my ass, you know, because it it is something I've got to really like, I've got to push, you know, I've got to like, it was something that to me, you know, when you're doing a canvas this big, you know, and it's gonna really be out there, you know, it's something that I wanted to really bring my all and bring my best to this particular. Not, I always bring my best, you know, but with this, like, this canvas is just special to me because I think that it symbolizes like a really big turning point and a big evolution in like style and just process, and a lot of just like different things that I've been trying to like get toward, like work towards. like are kind of combining all together, which is like, you know, the street art stuff, psychedelic art, like, you know, the festival culture. But like I'm doing, for me, I've always enjoyed creating psychedelic art, but with street art techniques. So like to me, like mixed media, paint markers, you know, we're using spray paint, um, that kind of stuff. Like it gives it sort of this graffiti aesthetic, like in the, as far as the technique goes, you know, just like that hard line outline kind of look to the piece. And, you know, it's sprayed, it's aerosol, it's got the space art kind of vibe going on.
Space art. I like that.
Well, yeah, like that's kind of like the pyramids, and some of that inspiration is like, you know, that old school 80s, like 90s kind of space art.
For sure.
Which, cool little trivia point. For those who don't know or aren't familiar with Jerry Garcia's artwork, he was actually an airbrush artist. So,
Incredibly
little
talented.
shout out. That's why I'm using the airbrush right now. Because, yeah,
clever.
Jerry painted with airbrush. And if you look at some of his paintings, he would do like some of the space art stuff, and like it was, a lot of it was abstraction. He did some illustration work with like pen and ink and stuff and watercolors, but a lot of his airbrush stuff was like purely abstraction. I thought that was kind of cool that like in the 80s and stuff that, you know, the airbrush was kind of like a hot tool back then. But I thought that was cool that he had picked it up and kind of done something like totally weird and totally like, you know, out of left field with it that wasn't really, you know, related to anything. It was clearly just, he was just having fun.
Another fun fact. Ryan didn't, well, fun fact / question, because I don't want to get the fact wrong. Didn't you work in a gallery once that housed a bunch of Jerry's work?
Yeah, so I worked for this
That's
place
so
called
wild.
Renjo Galleries back in like 2015, 16, and out near Boston. And so back in like, I believe it was the 80s, they did, they hosted the Dead because Garcia did an art show at the gallery. And so supposedly it was their best, most successful art show they ever threw. And the place was
yeah.
absolutely packed, and they sold like crazy amounts of work. But the band showed up, and Renata, who is like the gallery she was like the liaison of the gallery. She was like, oh my God, they were awful. They were totally wasted.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, they're the Dead. So yeah, apparently they showed up like blasted out of their minds.
Wait,
And
what year was this about?
this is like the 80s. Like this was like their, you know, this is at the, like, they had already like, you know, peaked in terms of fame and,
That's wild.
you know, just their notoriety. So, you know, again, like they could do things like art shows and just you know, it's one of these random fucking things. But yeah, so her impression was not positive. But I figured this out. I found this out because in the archives, I was going through like a bunch of like framed artwork in the gallery, and I found a Jerry print, signed, you know, numbered, the whole deal, and I was just like astonished, you know.
That's awesome.
I ended up, I wanted to like list them on eBay and stuff for them, but yeah, they were like, I couldn't believe they were just holding on to those.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like the Garcia estate or somebody didn't retrieve them.
Well, I'm just surprised that they wouldn't like
Or that, yeah.
sell them on the internet, you know. But they weren't really like tech savvy people.
Yeah, and they obviously didn't have an appreciation for the Dead or for Jerry's work. I mean, not.
They had
not
one.
enough.
They had it enough to
I
host
guess.
an art show.
Yeah, that's fair.
No hate. Just saying.
No hate.
It
I
was just a
think it's
funny thing. So anyways, I'm still chipping away on these wings. This is like such a finicky tool. I'm not gonna lie. Like
Good word.
sometimes it gives me just what I want, and sometimes it's like it's spitting like nothing but water right now. I don't know what the heck is wrong. Let me just give a little first aid to my airbrush. See what the issue is. So yeah, I'm guessing I got maybe, 15 hours left on this piece. You know,
That's not too bad.
2 days, like.
Knowing you, that's not too bad.
Yeah, this has been this is like a session 4 type thing. So I've done like 4 sessions on this being the 4th or 5th or so. No, it's definitely not that bad. Like a couple weeks, like I started this last Monday, so we're on Wednesday. I mean, this has only been,
Yeah, let me
10 days.
Let me rephrase. That's really not bad at all. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. When earlier I was mentioning the whole like start something and finish something mode of being, and like your practice with that of recent, like we got to give the audience context that I'm comparing it to a mural that he started like September one year and then finished it October the following year. So
Oh yeah, I've had murals
Yeah.
take like a year, just because you get busy or like you start a wall or like I don't know. Like sometimes we do projects that aren't really like,
it was with a grant, so it
yeah,
wasn't
so they're kind of
for a client.
open-ended. It's not like you have this like hard deadline, so it is easy to get like distracted and you try to space it out, but once you crack it open, like, if you're not gonna finish it, if it's not done, like, I'm crazy. I get obsessed with it, so I can't stop thinking about it, and yeah, it'll drive you nuts, honestly. Like, so
Yeah, you did go nuts.
that's why where I'm at right now, artistically, is trying to just do one piece at a time, and just slowly like work my way through each piece so that I don't feel like crazy overwhelmed all the time. And don't get me wrong, like I have other works in progress. Like this isn't the only thing, but right now for me, like I'm not really opening anything else up in terms of commissions or anything until this is finished, because this piece is an important one for a lot of reasons. I just have a good feeling that, this particular client is going to be very happy with this piece, and that could lead to other opportunities, given just like who they are and who they know and that kind of thing. So, with private commissions, it's one of these things like, it's totally different than public art. It's completely different, like in the best kind of way. It's definitely a lot more personal to somebody, and it's not like about the public. It's about, the individual and their kind of identity or what they like. But it's also just there's like a way crazy level of creative freedom on it in terms of getting to do me, do my thing. So thankful for that, for sure. So yeah, I'm enjoying this process because, like, honestly, there's a certain level of pressure that comes off when it's up to me to kind of make the certain moves and design decisions, and just I know what's best and what's going to look right, and I don't have to overthink it, honestly. And that comes with trust. Like, you got to trust yourself, trust in your own like skills or abilities to like pull shit off. There really are no mistakes. You just keep working with it, and you trust yourself, and the client will trust you along, in the same, because if you're confident about it, then they're confident about it.
Well
And if
said.
your abilities speak for themselves, then like, you don't have to convince them. So but anyways, I'm gonna keep hammering some airbrush. I honestly am not like thrilled about how some of this airbrush is laying on here, so I'm probably maybe gonna go in with like just regular paintbrush at some point and clean some of that up. But some of it's like amazing, some of it really like hits just right on some of these little feathery wingtips. Next up, some of the processes I'm gonna do. I'm gonna glaze this skull, so it's not just gonna be gray neutrals. I'm actually gonna like kind of colorize it, tie-dye it. with using a glaze medium and using some acrylic paint. Um, Also gonna work on outlining some of these flowers. I can honestly probably switch over to a black airbrush and kind of throw some more shading in the mix.
You shouldn't throw shade.
Oh, Audrey with a zinger.
Thanks, but I'll be here all week.
Shit. Okay. Sorry, I'm kind of blocking the
I'm
view.
blocking my light. It's okay. I'm used to it. No, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. And plus, you're doing the exact work. I'm doing the blurry background, like crazy flower field. So I'm good. It's better that it's less exact, like you were saying, because it's not realism. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of cool with this right now as far as this blue goes.
Oh yeah, that looks great.
A little more water. What, the wings and stuff?
Yeah, but also the I can see the glaze on what you're working on now and how it's
Yeah.
it's subtle, but it really does it. And honestly, like, it's one thing to be looking through a screen seeing us work on this piece, but if you're seeing this piece up close in real life, also depends on the lighting that's used to accent, to like the lighting on the piece to show it, like, really makes a difference in how much you can see the texture and the different layers of paint and stuff like that, which is so interesting. I love when galleries do a great job on lighting, and I'm always upset when they don't. And I'm sure our client will have really good lighting on this, so hell yeah.
All right, so my airbrush is like, it's kind of acting up, so I'm gonna put this down for a bit. I'm gonna switch over to a different medium here. Tom, how are we looking on time?
It's been 47 minutes.
Cool. All right. So I'm just cleaning out my airbrush, putting it in some water, and I'm gonna switch over to a different medium because I'm kind of sick of it. It's like it needs, like, it's being temperamental, you know. So one of the other things I was gonna work on here is I think I'm gonna slap this stencil up and get this moon up here.
Yeah, do
Because
it.
I feel like that's an entertaining thing for me to do right now. This gives you a little visual eye candy. Maybe, hit it right here. So like, one of the concepts for this piece, or one of the themes for this piece, is obviously kind of like day and night. So I need to throw my moon into this piece, but I want to make sure I'm getting the positioning exactly where I want it. Audrey, you're thinking like more down, right? Like more in this kind of. Help me out if you will.
Yeah, that really is, I think, the move, to have it right where you are holding it right now, because I have a feeling that if we let the whole top
Yeah, I just want to be
row
careful of getting it near the edge.
For sure, but I think if we leave the whole top row bare, there's gonna be a balance to it that will be interesting, and you might come up with something really cool to add to the top row. So yes, like more galaxy in space, like you were saying. So yes, put it there.
Now I want to do it like a little more realistic than this crescent, but I think this crescent will at least give me the placement that I want.
Yeah, you could totally add a glow around it after. Like you know.
You don't think doing a full moon in that size would? See, sometimes we just
honestly, now that it's in that placement, a full moon if it's that size, a full moon in that spot could work. I don't think a full moon up in the top corner would work because I think it would pull too much from the skull.
Great. Okay,
But in
cool.
that spot, yeah, and that small size could work. The full moon you showed me earlier was way bigger.
Yeah, so we're gonna just start with this crescent, so I can at least lay the placement down. And see, this is kind of
You
how
can
it
turn a
works.
crescent into a full.
This is kind of how it works with art. You know, again, when you don't have it, you don't gotta be so. It's not like I'm not gonna sit here and measure this. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and feel it and take a guess. You know, so that I feel like, you know, it's where I want it to be. Now, I really only got like one shot because I don't want to paint this background over and paint the wings and do all, like, I gotta nail it. I can't, you know, I can't really redo
For
this.
sure.
So, you know, honestly, like part of me, you said the full moon, right? Because part of
I'm
me
saying
almost,
you could, yeah.
part of me almost feels like it should have some breathing room away from these wings. You know? But
I really feel like, yeah. I don't
can you pull
know.
up? You want to pull up that rendering? Let's look at the sketch. Don't tell anybody we're looking at the sketch. Okay. Well, maybe it's in that spot for a reason. You know, I put it there for a reason. If it's, you know, again, I messed around with that quite a bit, so I had a reason why I put it there. And I do think
Yeah,
it's more
good point.
balanced with the composition in general, because both of these, you know, the sun and the moon are somewhat centered to the tip of the wing.
Yeah.
So this one's over just a little bit, but I think that's okay, right? Because otherwise I could tuck it behind the wing a little bit, but
Tuck it behind.
now I'm getting a little bit.
No. Tuck it behind. Because
Tuck it
the
behind?
skull is the center and really the subject of this piece. The wings are extensions of that. So to me, it's like it is in the foreground, and I think it'll be stronger and more
Well, see if you
symmetrical.
but if we center it over like where the wingtip is, and this sun is under, and this would be over.
That is valid.
As above, so below. Right?
Okay, that's valid. That's actually my favorite
Okay, so
choice.
done. We have it. It has been
Lua-
decided. Huh?
Jeremy Llewellyn said moon should look great over the pyramids.
Nice.
How far above the wings are you thinking?
Just a little tiny bit, like it's almost touching, but you know, just slightly off. I think it's good to use negative space, leave negative space, and have breathing room for things when possible. But also, there's a bit of symmetry in this piece, so it is good to create balance or be mindful of balance. Another thing I want to be mindful of, you guys can't tell watching this, but there's actually crop marks on the corner of these paintings. So this painting, like this blends out, but this is gonna get folded over, and like, you know, there's gonna be this is gonna be framed essentially. So we're gonna crop like a good like 2 or 3 inches off of the edges of this painting, just so y'all are aware of that. So I kind of gotta really be careful of like my margins, so to speak. All right, let's rip some paint into this stencil real quick. Do I love it?
Yes. Do it.
All right, I think I do. So going back to our good trusty water-based spray paint, gonna go with like a little bit of red and then give it that orange kind of effect to it. And I'm also gonna use a little black so I can get like my craters. And then I always used to use a glove on my left hand mostly because when I'm doing stenciling and stuff, I'm holding stuff down. So, you know, having my left hand with the glove on makes more sense than having it on the hand I'm actually spraying on. Because like now, like, you know, I can kind of block things and shield things with my own hand, which is cool. Makes for the cleaner stencil. All right. And I can also kind of shield and block other the overspray from, going on parts of the painting that I don't want it to go on. So getting a fresh cap here. Boom, boom, boom. Nice and light. The water base, you gotta go super easy because if you go too heavy, it drips. So give it a second to dry. Hit it with the hair dryer. Boom, boom, boom. You can kind of hit it again here. So I don't really, kind of just using this like stencil to get the curve down here. I'm gonna, you'll see what I'm doing. Water-based always requires a couple coats, but in this case, I'm kind of using a couple colors. So the other cool thing is the colors will blend. If you spray on top of two colors while they're still wet, you can blend the colors in the actual painting itself and then still hit it with a brush. And it's got all this crazy versatility. The water-based stuff is really next level, honestly. All right, and let's dust a little bit of black just to give like those craters and stuff like I was talking about. Now, I think this has to be done in a couple steps here because I kind of want like a fuller type moon effect. Let's see how this looks right now. All right, so we kind of got this crescent going.
Ooh, cool.
It looks cool. I think it needs to be more of a full moon effect. So what I'm gonna do?
Yeah, but the color's a good start.
The color's a good start, but I think like a full moon with one of those moons that's like it's not quite full but almost like just
waxing.
there. Sure.
Waxing gibbous, I believe.
So I'm using the same stencil. I'm just kind of reversing it so I can get like a full sphere. Now if I pull this away, now I've got my circle. So here's what we're gonna do. Fill that in with just black. Sorry guys, this is in Montana 94, so I have to use a little bit of
How dare you?
actual spray paint. You're gonna live.
The fire
We're gonna
department's
get
on their way.
a little head buzz off of it and
Oh gosh.
make our
I haven't been around.
Make our
I haven't
podcast
even
more
been
interesting.
around spray paint in a whole month. Oh my gosh.
Yep. All right. So now I got my ball. I got my sphere. But, right now it's like one of these dark crescent moons. Because obviously, like, a crescent moon isn't a cartoonish little curve the way it is in, like, in movies and stuff. If we have, like, a waxing or waning moon, one edge is catching the sun. So, like, the other side is, like, quote unquote, the dark side of the moon or whatever. So, I want it to slowly, but I don't want it this much of a crescent. I want it kind of like almost full, but not quite. So that's like what I'm going for, is maybe like 3/4 full, right? So just delicately, ever so fucking slightly, you don't want to go too heavy with these paints, like I said, but you can kind of do little craters. And light dusting. I'm being ever so gentle with it. Don't try this at home, kids. You'll fuck your paintings up. I promise. But yeah, like just little light dust to give it that texture and spherical thing going on. I can maybe that's not gonna work. I need something to dab on here that's like plastic paper, like magazine paper. There's some effects I can do with creating some textures.
I have a shop towel over here.
Or even a piece of shop towel, piece of canvas, something crinkly, something that I can crinkle, like
Just a dry paper towel.
just a dry piece of paper, regular piece of paper.
Oh yeah,
works,
there you
too.
go.
Here, let me see. Sorry, I gotta try this little technique out. So, just crumpling up a piece of paper. I'll lay a little extra paint on there. Right. While it's still wet.
Oops.
Spray a little water on it. Just to give it, like, just to roughen it up a bit, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that really did what I wanted to, but. All right. Moon's looking pretty cratery. I don't want to go like too crazy on it, but a little dust won't hurt. And you'll see, like, one of the things I do is I test on the wall to make sure the can's really spritzing before I try to, like, you know, put it onto the canvas.
Yeah, that's for sure a pro tip he's taught me before.
Yeah, like shaking it, spraying it out, making sure the valve is loaded with paint before you're pressing it down. Okay. So now I've got some texture onto this moon. Drying it off again. More texture. Well, now my paper's kind of sticking to this. I don't really want that. But now I can kind of layer the stencil back on here again, just to get like the very edge of this. I don't really need the stencil to make the circle or to do the texture and stuff, but I do want to use it for that very crisp, clean edge, so that like it's just sharp, you know. And
that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't paying attention. The orange is fluorescent, right?
No.
It's not?
Nope.
Oh.
It's just regular.
Wow, it
regular
really
orange.
looks like it is. Probably because it's against the dark background, the dark and almost contrasting blue background. It's awesome. I think even though it's not fluorescent, it will glow in a sense in a darker lighting, you know?
Yeah, I could definitely hit it with a little glow. Again, that's kind of a paint that is not in a water-based can, so some of these effects and some of these techniques I'll do, like, if I have to do other cans, I'll wait till, you know, like a lot of this was painted with regular paint, and I did it on like a nice sunny day with the doors open. So
Sure you did.
Yeah. All right, so I'm pretty stoked on this moon.
Yeah, I love it.
It's pretty dope. I just want to hit the edge one more time. Make sure it looks like it's, you know, somewhat done. And yeah, this was like a huge element missing out of this painting, so I'm really glad that like we got to capture this, because I'm happy with it, and also it's kind of changing the whole vibe. Because we didn't really have a light source on this side of the painting, and now these pyramids kind of have their, you know, their light source, and they're in alignment with some kind of planetary, you know, body, so that gives some semblance of balance to the left and right here. And wow, Audrey, you're cruising, you're crushing over here. That's beautiful. You're doing a lot. Yeah, you're doing some really cool work.
Oh,
Now
I'm happy
remember,
you like it.
do you remember where the crosshatch was? The little, see that little mark? There was a crosshatch somewhere in here.
Oh, shit.
It's okay, I'll create a new one. But that is the that is the corner. So
You mean that's the end?
yeah, that is the end. But remember, it's gonna wrap
My
around the frame, so it
oh.
will be on the side of the painting.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, because I don't think we're doing a frame on this. I think we're just wrapping it, right? So So that's kind of why I paint over the edge a little bit, because when you wrap the canvas on the bottom or on the sides, if you're looking at it from the side, it'll still be painted, and it'll bleed over and look dope. But you know, some of that stuff does get cut off. So that's why I like this moon. I'm really happy about the placement because it's going to be right in the corner pocket. It's going to have, you know, a little bit of breathing room all the way around, but ultimately it's dominating this one empty spatial area. And yeah, it's allowing for like a lot of other, you know, spacey cosmos to kind of float around it. But yeah, it just feels, now that I'm like stepping all the way back here, like the painting just starting to feel like super balanced just because of adding that moon in there. So what are the next steps here? You ask. We're going to be doing molecules. Like I want to have a molecule here, and kind of like some DNA or just molecules radiating out of the pyramid and out of the skull, the top of the skull sort of thing. So that's going to be on some cosmic, you know, kind of alchemy type situation. But that is, to me, that's the last part of this painting that I really will probably be working on, you know, within the next week or so. Most of this painting to me is at like a very close finish point, you know, as far as the landscapes and the bottom sections. And that's kind of how I wanted to approach this, was I did want to finish the organic stuff first before I went on to approaching the more
Inorganic?
yeah, like the abstract element to it, because like the molecules, a lot of that stuff is like really bright colors, so they're gonna be highlights, and it just needs, you know, it's gonna be sort of the icing on the cake. So it's gonna, you know, it needs to be done last, because it will have sort of an effect on everything else, being just that, you know, the skull is the focal point, it's the center point, and this painting is very symmetrical, so it's going to be important that these molecules and this chemistry, so, you know, constellation type situation is going to be, it needs to be done right, it needs to be balanced, and it needs to be like, you know, kind of precise. So I'm probably going to end up cutting some stencils for some of that, some of the, you know, specific molecules and stuff that I want to do. Not going to name them here on the podcast, but if you know, you know. Yeah. So, kind of just adding a little more glow to my pyramids, giving them some love. Just adding a little glow to the sand dunes. I really love the pyramid scene. I know it's pretty simple, honestly, but it's probably one of my favorite parts. And
So well executed.
and so that, but you know, they both have their like their sweetness to them. I think there's a lot that I can kind of pull back and forth from one side to the next to kind of balance it out. But I think we're like, you know, we're looking good. We're coming along.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
I'm just gonna pull, if you don't mind me staring at the reference one more
No,
time.
please. I said that I was working on not doing that, but tonight was just a night where I needed to. But I'm glad because I got some cool ideas for trippy flowers.
Yeah, so I'm contemplating just putting a little glow in the eyes. What would you say would be the right color for that?
Glow in the eyes. Something in the. Oh.
In a blue tone?
I was going to say blues, purples. Honestly, blues, purples, especially because.
Because of the background and the sky and stuff.
Sure, but I was going to say because, like, also centered on the painting flowing downward is the blue water. So that would be kind of cool to have some other kind of blue, purple, something that maybe even connects to that water.
I could see that.
If you will. Yeah. You know?
I mean, purple is probably the more unifying color since that's like in the
Yeah.
center.
Yeah, I mean,
So let
maybe
me-
it's even like the halfway point in between that's connecting the purpley, pinkish
You know,
sky
I got, like,
down into
I
the
think I might got the
blue water.
right one.
Yeah. What's the name of that color again?
Babylon.
That's Babylon? No.
Yeah, it is.
Why does the top look... Oh, there we go. I was seeing it in a weird light.
Sometimes-
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
so-
great color.
It's kind of like a neon, bright blue, indigo kind of color.
Yeah, it's got that strong... it's like, it's bright, but it's warm, you know?
I don't know if it's warm. It's very cool. Cool.
That's warm to me. No? I don't know. Ooh.
I don't know. Not sure.
I'm having trouble. I mean, you only did one little thing, but I'm having trouble. Like, I can barely even see it because of the light right now, which is all good. As long as you can see it.
I mean, that gives it a little something.
Yeah, it's like a shadow. I like it.
Just like a little. It needs some kind of glow.
Feeling it.
All right, enough of that because that's not a water-based can,
Woo. Smell that.
and it's yeah. Sorry.
Actually, though. Damn. Strong.
All right. Well,
Hmm.
as we know, this painting can go on and on and on, and it will, as it's supposed to, but it's not going to all happen in one night. So, you know, maybe we find a nice time to wrap this up. Do we have anything else we want to say? We want to talk about? We want to discuss? Anybody else have any other questions out there? Anything they want to know or want us to talk about or mention or showcase? Let's just like go over some of these, you know, details. There's the moon. Got some of these wings. Got the pyramids. All the little juicy details. One of my favorite parts over here is like all the aurora borealis kind of stuff, like that lime green. That's
That's magical.
That's my color right there.
There's definitely some fluorescence in there, right? In the greens?
In what? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the greens. The green is like a bright. It's not fluorescent. It's just.
There's
a bright,
no fluorescent over there?
Nah.
Wow.
There's just lime greens.
It's because it's sitting on a dark background. That's what's giving me that illusion.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of
Wow.
it. I haven't used a lot of neons or fluorescence in this at all. Actually,
Right.
it's just been using the. I noticed a lot of the water-based colors are just like pretty well saturated. So even though it's a water-based paint, they still have like bright pigmentation to them, and they show up really awesome and really well. So they have that neon effect without even having it.
For
which is-
sure.
It means I'm pulling it off. So.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I'm happy with where we're at. We made some progress. Got the moon painted. Got some highlights
Yeah.
on the wings. Got some flowers in there. Sorry, I'm standing in the way
Getting
over
there.
here, but
It's all good.
It's
We're
getting
playing. I'm adding more and more layers to it, so it's kind of like I still feel like this is the background, and I want it to be more crazy.
there's going to be more foreground
Exactly,
and
more
more like
foreground.
something.
Yes.
Well, I honestly, one of the things I wanted to put in there is like I got these mushroom stencils.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd love to put
That's
some big, huge
perfect.
mushroom caps
Yes.
in front of all of those
yes,
flowers.
yes, yes, yes.
That'll be,
That'll do it, and it'll also balance out the fact that there's big, beautiful sunflowers on the right side of the road. I really think.
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
move.
Like it gives us some. It's all about perspective. It's all about creating
Yeah.
like with this side because it's going off in the distance. It's just a different perspective on both of these pieces. But it's nice. One of my favorite parts and what I was trying to accomplish with this is like you have the thing that's right up in your face, but you also have like worlds inside of worlds. Like you have detailed tiny paintings inside of paintings. So some sections when you step back can be really simple and basic, like the sky, the cosmos, etc. But when you really get up to these like little organic little pockets, it's like I want to I want to put like a door on the temple. I want to put
Ooh.
little footprints in the sand dunes. Maybe like a little camel or something, you know, and have like little stuff in there that makes
sure.
it have just like
A world.
an extra layer of like a world inside of a world, so to speak.
I like it.
So anyways, that's our painting experience in a nutshell. Thanks for joining us again on the Artifact Hour. Catch us next week. We'll be doing it again. My name's Ryan.
I'm Audrey.
Audrey. Check us out at Artifact Studios. That is Artifact with a K Studios on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Peace.